What's good, everybody? It's Amon-Rellik, the God Slayer. We're back, and you know we're on Final Fantasy XIV's storyline. We're still in Endwalker, baby. Let's keep going. Let's do it. I got my Dark Knight on. We ready? We ready to do some things? We ready to do some things to save some worlds and some universes. Let's go do so. With my suffering and my death and darkness. But then we gotta go in here. Yep. Back on Charlian. We need you for the battles to come. Now then, our investigation here remains. But when that's over, we can take stock of all the developments and discoveries. Okay. Alright, so I guess next is her. Okay, so we were gonna do them both anyway. Okay. Clara is convinced on uncovering the reason behind the form's inexplicable behavior. She's intent on uncovering it. There go that bait. There go that bait right there. There go that bait. Look at that bait. An unsettling change has come over Charlian, but together we will divine the underlying cause. As I mentioned before, however, questioning the counselors directly is a fruitless endeavor. They seem to have already come to a consensus as to what and how little they are willing to divulge. Which is why I began scouring Charlian's archive of historical records for any hint of connection to the final days. Suffice it to say that progress has been slow. There are so many dusty pages one can skim in a day. There are only so many dusty pages. But now that I have this band of willing reinforcements, the search should proceed all the swifter. Okay. Let us reconvene outside Numenon. Shall we? Numenon. Numenon? Exit the annex to the right, and you will find the archives on the western edge of the woods. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Let's get her done. Let's get her done. Okay. Alright. Tranquility. The studio. Our directions were easy to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of Numenon, Charlian's greatest collection of books and tomes. The building is actually only an entrance, and one of many at that, for the archives of Numenon extend deep beneath the surface, like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the great Google Library pale in comparison to Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Charlian is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Istola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alisei and Alphino will help me continue my search through the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch on Charlian history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you, a working knowledge of those subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they've found some promising tomes. Happy reading. Happy reading. Woman, I'm not gonna say the education ain't good. The education is very good. Okay? But look at this. Look what I'm wearing. Look what I'm wearing. I come from the dark order of death and destruction. Okay? Good God, why does this building seem so much bigger on the inside? Oh, how far down does that go? How far down does that go? Who the hell is that? The hell is that? Wait, what the hell is that? I don't know. The hell is that? Okay. In any case, yeah, this building was a lot bigger. This pump. Floor glowing and shit. Oh, that's just terrifying. Why don't you just make a solid floor? Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Why would you make a... Calamity of Fire? Blue cover books? Let's get our knowledge. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained therein? I speak not of shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond, of the sun and the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think the dome above us to be a finite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar's depiction of a boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, this heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. Therefore, there are few indeed who can explain in satisfactory detail why our own star is believed to revolve around the sun. It is a technologist of Alec who came closest to understanding the laws which govern that starry abyss. It was they who launched Dalamud and sought to expand beyond our earthly bound existence. Having read all of their ancient ambitions, I wonder, Has your interest in this field waxed or waned? What if I were to tell you that the eternal constellations were arranged differently in the distant past? That their positions continued to shift almost imperceptibly, but measurably as we journey into the future? Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart? And may indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? This book is the wrong subject. The voice of a growing city. In the years which followed the founding of Charlian, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. The city's population grew. However, that forum became increasingly impractical. The larger number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays to vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions. But in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it is ultimately decreed that Charlian would transform into a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of a nationwide vote. Thus was the form as we know it today, conceived and created. Okay, we got one. The stewards of wisdom. During the chaos of the 6th Umbral Calamity, Archon Nunekrypt, founder of Charlian, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men, brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the northern empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Charlians took to heart the words of their savior, and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of acclimated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth and coin. And the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Charlian would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the tools of war and with knowledge deliver the world. A noble goal, Charlie. I ain't gonna lie. You wisdom made guys. You got books floating in your hands. Y'all God moding. You know what I'm saying? It's not. You gotta stick to the plan here. The story of Charlotte. Long, long ago, on an island in the northern sea, lived a Robidan man by the name of Munkrept. Astrology. He divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep the lands of Iorizia. It was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Munkrip's crew hauled them aboard his ark. But the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only moments to spare, Munkrip wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Abalatia's spine. Refugees of the surrounding regions hurtled there alongside them, but it was not long before disputes over dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Munkrip gathered his crew and his grateful passengers and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast where they built a new ship, intent on returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospered and grew, and in time it became the city of Charlian we live in to this day. Huh. Knowledge. Bimro was hacking. Ah, yes. The great city of Charlian. The great city of Charlian. Sing, woman. Oh, she ain't done. Now we can go talk now. We had to let old girl talk. We had to let old girl sing. She had to sing to us. Matter of fact, let me do something real quick. On my sound there. Bring this up just a little bit. There you go. Were you waiting long? I wanted to make sure I borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphinaud and Crowd should be along shortly. I was delayed in a similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mentioned the final day specifically. So we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the estate, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. I was quite fond of reading outside. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphinaud and I were to return to Charlian, we were not to be allowed access. We would not be allowed across the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the forum will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. What of you, Graha? Have you been to visit our family? Your family? Or do you not live here in the city? Or do they not live here in the city? Ah, well. Our situation is somewhat complicated. I was raised in Charlian, yes, but I was born rather far away. In the southern reaches of Ilisabad, in fact. For generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavnair. The Alligans founded a city in that fertile land and by ship brought in the subjugated tribes of the Mikote to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the seas solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvos braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain that they might prevent the remnants of Alligan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes. Some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces. But Garlemald renamed the region Locus Omenus. Locus Amoenus. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Alligan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the elegant eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Alec. As the last born child with the elegant eye, I was given over to the custody of friends and the students of Baldessian, who had me registered as a Shaolin citizen. I never even considered. Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thinkard was taken in by Archon Louis Soir, was he not? Stories of adopted waifs and rescued orphans are common among Charlians than you might think, are more common. Yet regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient precipity, we outsiders can even earn the vaunted title of Archon. It is exactly why I have such love for this country, and why I wish it to remain a nation in which its citizens can be proud. Here. Another good reason to get to the bottom of the foreign stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuses while we try to make some headway into these books, Amon. More company should be arriving any moment now. Okay. You return with our selections. Although I must say the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Cryo has already flipped through every history book devoted to disasters and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the Umbral calamities as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge on the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, I might ask you a few questions related to the final days. I am the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarat firsthand, and fear I may be overlooking critical details. I can tell you everything about the final days. I am the final days. My thanks. Now, where to begin? Death and destruction. That's where we begin. First things first, what kind of phenomenon did the ancients encounter as the final days grew nigh? Complete destabilization of creation magics. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wrought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Istolos surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Ascians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? Ah, yeah. Emerald team spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes was preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually, it resounded all across the star, and not even Emerald was spared. They summoned Zodiac. With Elizabeth serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We don't know exactly how Zodiac brought salvation to the star, only that his godlike will for the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Life sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render unto Zodiac a trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Or might have, had Venat and her followers not manifested their own opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telophoroi truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We've seen what they were doing what they're doing with those towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech, a convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash? But this is all just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return to the attention to the forum, shall we? You should keep an eye out for Ishtola. But at this time we began studying these research papers. I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended search for the Archon stacks produced one or two possibly useful books. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Odionje learned this of the source's reflections from the Gurun oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, the tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the great Google library. It is even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Fortunal with knowledge of the Telepharoi and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know if the final days were truly upon us, which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mentions of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. Okay, Estola, I'll read some books. You labor for what feels like an age as Estola's research assistant. Estola! Oh, I didn't mean to get there. Wait. Bae! What you doing? What you doing over here? Got your Lulu style gown on, girl. Look at you. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a mammoth in the reference decks will point you to the right direction. For the moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Okay. This episode wasn't really all that big of an action-packed one. It was just more massive amounts of reading and knowledge. But in the next one, we're gonna see what's going on next at the seat of the last stand. Amon-Rellik, the guy say, Amon-Rellik Gaming. We out.